Hello, everyone. Welcome back to both Deuterocomical and Doctrine, Dogma, and Davide. My name is Davide with Derby,
And I'm Seth from Deuterocomical.
and today we're going to be taking a look at some real or fake quotes from either Protestant commentators or from Mike Gendron. Now, some of you who have watched my channel before probably know that one of the first rebuttals I ever did was to a talk given by Mike Gendron, and since then, a bunch of other Catholic commentators have been, jumping on that train. So I like to consider myself the trendsetter on that front, even though probably I wasn't. But so we're gonna go ahead and start diving in here. Deuterocomical or Seth, I suppose. Can I call you Seth? Are we friends?
Go for it. Yeah. Yes.
So, Mr. Comical, let me see. Do you want to read the first quote, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. Yeah. Jesus was not God until he was baptized. That is the way I read my Bible. He was 30 years old at the time he was baptized, and he had performed no miracles. Also, I cannot believe that God who created heaven and earth would spend 9 months in Mary's womb waiting to be born.
Oh boy. Okay. See, the problem with doing this with Protestants is that because they have no centralized authority, they can basically believe anything.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and say fake, just because I think that at this point, if you're saying, oh, Jesus wasn't God until his baptism, if you don't believe in the actual incarnation, then I feel like at that point you're really pushing the definition of Christian.
That's a fair point. So, unfortunately, this is real, but you make a good point. Would this person be considered a Protestant or even a Christian? Maybe not. This was in a Christian Facebook group of
I see. Okay.
supposedly Protestants. So, that one's kind of tricky. So,
I think I've got some tricky ones too here. So
okay.
my first one, from either real or fake, from Mike Gendron. He says, and so at the Council of Trent, the Catholic Church actually placed the Bible on the list of forbidden books because they recognized as people were reading it, the truth was setting them free.
I feel like I might have seen this one taking the round, so it's kind of unfair. But I feel like I remember hearing him that he said that, so I'm going to say real on that one.
Yep, that's
That one's real.
100%
Okay,
real.
yeah, it's
And
pretty ridiculous.
also
If
just
I had not seen that, I don't know if I would have
100%
gotten it.
false.
Yeah, because there
See,
is a real forbidden books list, right? It's just that's never been
yes.
on it. So
Yeah, there's an index of prohibited books that was started after the Council of Trent. And when he's confronted on this, he very rarely addresses criticism. But one time in one stream, he quoted from the Council of Trent stating that, and he clips it out of context of Trent saying, you cannot receive communion until you return the Holy Scriptures to the church. And I'm just like, wait, it literally says return the Holy Scriptures, implying that they were taken from the church. And if you steal a Bible from the church, you should return it.
exactly. Yeah. All right. Here's my next one.
Okay.
Why is it that there are no salvation testimonies in Catholicism?
See, that that is just so you have to the confident ignorance there is hard for me to imagine. Well, oh my goodness, this is hard.
It is hard, yeah. It's pretty much just a 50-50 on most of these.
Yeah. I'm gonna say you made that one up. I think that most Protestants would say that faith testimonies in the Catholic Church are, not real. If they only knew what real faith feels like, they wouldn't be so confused. I would be surprised, but tell me, what did I get it right?
This one's actually real, believe it or not. It was posted in
goodness gracious.
another Facebook group. In just 13 hours, it has over 390 comments.
Oh boy.
So I didn't actually look at the comments, but I'm sure there was a lot of interesting stuff going on there.
I'm sure it was a cesspool. It's like that meme where you've got to put on the hazmat suit and then enter the door that says comment section.
I'm hopeful that there's a lot of people telling him he was wrong, and maybe that's why. But who
Oh, I'm
knows?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do we know that the early church fathers you want us to read and believe are not the same ones Paul warned us about?
Say it again.
How do we know that the early church fathers you want us to read and believe are not the ones Paul warned us about? So, like the wolves in sheep's
Yeah,
clothing.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I could totally see him saying that.
Mhm.
It doesn't really sound like his style. I'm gonna say fake.
This one's actually real.
That's real. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
whenever somebody tells them to read the church fathers, read what the
Yeah.
actual early Christians believed, he's just like, "Nah, all the early Christians were wrong." Like,
Yeah.
How do we know that the early church fathers you want us to read and believe are not the ones Paul warned us about?
just completely unabashed.
So my next one actually is very similar. So I'll go with this one.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
so the early church was Catholic, yes, and the early church fathers led people to hell.
All right, so far I am 0 for 2. So I feel like I gotta get one right. At least by the end of this video. If I get
At
nothing
least
right, I
one.
feel like I have to drop out of school. Um Again, this honestly feels too audacious for you to have made it up. I'm going to say that this is real.
This one is real. Yes. Now I
Yes.
did find it
Okay.
as it was
Okay.
a screenshot in a Discord server. So part of me is wondering, like, is this ironic? I'm pretty sure it's real though.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, it's
It can be
just
hard to tell sometimes.
impossible to
Yeah.
distinguish between like real and parody. I
Yep.
remember I think that you made like an AI video of like the Diamond Brothers or something, and
Yeah.
didn't they
Yeah.
threaten to sue you?
Oh yeah, that's a whole whole story. Yep. Yeah.
All right. So they, Catholics, really believe that Jesus leaves heaven to go running all over the world to show up at every mass just because a priest told him to.
Hmm. I'll say real.
Real? So this one I made up.
That sounds fake. Dang it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little
It
tricky
sounds like
just
his
because
style.
it's yeah, and it's a little bit similar to things he will say, who is just
Mhm.
like he'll say things like, "Oh, you shouldn't depict Jesus on the cross because Jesus is in heaven," or like Jesus can't be in the host, he's in heaven, and he'll
Mhm.
use rhetoric like that. He's never been quite as blunt as the quote
Yeah.
I made up though.
All right. This one's also kind of similar to what you were just saying here. Well, sort of. Okay.
Mhm. Okay.
Catholics are so insistent on keeping Christ on the cross that they begin and end every prayer with a symbol of it. Do they not know that Christ is risen?
Hmm. I I think that you probably made this one up just because I think that it is too foolish a thing to say so eloquently.
That's good. Yeah, no, I did make it up. That's
Yes, okay.
interesting deduction. I like that.
My redemption arc is upon
Yeah, it's
us.
coming. It's coming.
Okay. Can you see how this religion holds people captive? Even after they die, they are still utterly dependent on a priest to get them out of purgatory by offering the sacrifice of the Mass.
Hmm. I'm gonna say real on that one.
Yep, that one's real.
That one's real. Wow.
Yep. He talks about how, like, when Pope John Paul II died, they flew in 8 cardinals to offer mass for the repose of his soul, and he's just like,
Yeah.
this is crazy, especially since he thinks the Pope is in hell. So
Can you see how this religion holds people captive? Even after they die, they still are utterly dependent on a priest to get them out of purgatory by offering the sacrifice of the Mass.
Yeah. It's just weird how like it's just such a different perspective because like when I see that, it's like that's so beautiful and cool that they did that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
completely different worldview, I guess. All right.
Mhm.
Why isn't the Mass written in the Apostles' Creed? Question mark.
Hmm. See, the really pithy quotes are tough to discern because I'm gonna say real just because it sounds like a lot of the like questions that I will get on in my comment section that people
Mhm.
think are really really good owns, and then I respond and then they get mad.
Yep. Nope, this one's real. It's, yeah, another Facebook group. It's actually this it's kinda the same guy in a lot of these. He's known for just being everywhere and, yeah, just asking a
Yeah.
question and then comments, tons of comments in reply, but it's very just
I
what
mean, I
it's not
I
like a
can kind
genuine
of
question
respect
he's
that.
asking, but it's, like, not a
Yeah.
genuine question that he's looking for an answer for. He's trying to put, like, a
Right.
gotcha out there. It's, like, not
Yeah,
a genuine
exactly.
question, you know?
Just kind of trying to troll everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. What many Catholics don't realize is that when they think that the priest is reading from scripture at Mass, he's actually instead reading from the Catholic Catechism. So Catholics go to Mass hoping to hear the Word of God, but instead are led astray and indoctrinated with the man made traditions of the Catholic Church.
Man, if this is real, I wonder, is he talking about, like, a homily, or does he think that, like, the Roman Missal is the catechism? That's really
I
interesting.
mean, he did grow up back when the scripture was read in Latin. So
Yeah,
maybe he like I don't want to give you a hint, but
yeah. I'm gonna just go real because that's gonna be really funny if it's real.
so this is not a real Mike Gendron
Oh,
quote, but it is very similar to a quote that I got in my comment section on one of
whoa,
my Mike Gendron videos.
that's amazing.
Like and this is from a guy who claimed to be a former Catholic, and I'm just like, I literally just responded by typing out the full text of the scripture that was read at the
Yeah,
prior Sunday Mass. I was just like, if this is actually the catechism, count me confused, buddy, because this is what I heard.
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Lord have mercy that I even have to say this out loud. I feel like might be a sin. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh boy.
At the end of the day, I can't even fathom praying to Mary when we can't even know for sure if she is in heaven.
It seems strange to me that a Protestant would say that we can't know for sure that Mary is in heaven, given the fact that if you believe in salvation by faith alone, I don't see how you could possibly believe that Mary would not have had faith in Jesus. Like of all people, Mary would be the
Mhm.
most certain person ever to to have faith in Jesus. I'm gonna go ahead and say real, just because it does sound like the sort of confused thinking that I've heard from Protestants before.
You should have trusted your gut. I made this one up.
Ah,
It was a
dang
good
it.
deduction. I
Dang
thought you
it.
were gonna go for it. Yeah, eh, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone go quite that far. Because yeah, they probably would say something like, "Yeah, as long as she had faith," but I
Right,
don't know.
yeah.
I could It's kinda like almost like a caricature of what I could imagine them saying, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I gotta remember to always trust my analysis and never go with my gut.
There you go.
My analysis is always, always correct, and I have never said anything that I later thought I could have said better. So, my next one is every Roman Catholic priest, bishop, monsignor, and pope is under a divine curse.
No further elaboration? Okay,
It's a short one. I've got a
yeah.
couple of short ones. Yeah.
Uh, I could see again, it's like I could totally see him saying this, but I don't know that he did. Uh, I'll say fake.
So this one is real.
Oh my gosh.
He
Man.
said it right after. right after Paul condemns the Judaizers, and he said, the Judaizers only wanted to add one law to the gospel of Christ. Look at all the laws that the Catholic Church adds.
Every Roman Catholic priest, bishop, monsignor, and pope is under a divine curse.
And I just want to thank Mike Gendron for clarifying that the Eastern Catholic priests, monsignors, and bishops are in the clear.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only the Roman Catholics. Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. James White always does that too. He always calls it Roman Catholicism.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, I give them a little bit of a pass on that just because, like, the Roman Church is the largest and most prominent of the Catholic churches. But, like, it is kind of funny to see the confusion on people's faces when you point out, okay, what about the Assyrian Catholic Church? What about the Ruthenian Church, the Melkite Church?
Yep. All right, here's my next one.
Okay.
You are a papist. Where is St. Luke the Evangelist in the Bible? You have more faith in papist man-made traditions than the Bible.
Okay. I'm going to say that Protestants generally like the label of papist better than Catholics do because, it's a pejorative, but a lot of times, like, Catholics don't really pay attention to that label so much. We don't really think about it. So I think the fact that he started out with "you are a papist" as a pejorative, I don't think that's how you would have started off a fake comment. I think this one is real.
Yep, this one is real. It's a tweet from about a month ago. It kind of blew up on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter, but he got quote tweeted, and so many people were just like, "What is this guy talking about?" He got totally ratioed as people say.
I do have an official Twitter account, but I almost never use it just because I found it to be too much of an occasion of sin, and so I'm just like, this is not the space for me. So I'm gonna stick mainly to like YouTube and Instagram and stuff.
That's fair.
All right, so the next one I've got is Mary only bore the cloak that God put on.
This is like kind of saying like Mary only gave birth to
Jesus, not to God. Yeah.
The human part of Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say fake.
This is indeed fake. But bonus points if you know who actually said it.
Well-known person?
So a very well-known heretic. This is actually something that Arius said.
Oh, wow.
Before the Council of Nicaea. He was arguing with an Orthodox bishop, and sort of like in the fit of the argument, like, the bishop was affirming, like, no, like Jesus is actually God, and so Mary is indeed the mother of God. And he said, Mary only bore the cloak that God put on,
Wow.
and it is similar.
I should have noticed
that,
the phrasing of it was more just like the phrasing. Didn't seem like the way a modern person would word it. So I should have caught that. Yeah, that's good though.
It's a little bit more archaic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Mike Gendron has said that, like, oh no, Mary's not the mother of God. She's the mother of Jesus. And I'm just like, that's not a swipe against Mary. That's a swipe against Jesus. Like,
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
All right. This one's interesting. Can't even get through with a straight face.
Right. Oh boy. Okay. You're either really pleased with yourself or it's real.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just say for context, this is like a King James onlyist, right?
Sure.
The editors of the NIV pee sitting down. The editors of the New King James all pee sitting down. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to pee sitting down.
Okay. On the one hand, I have seen your videos, and so I know how insane your humor can get at times. Yep. And so I 100% believe that you could have come up with this. and that it would not be beneath you to try to fool me with this comment.
Yes.
But at the same time, I could also 100% imagine an actual Protestant saying this, but I'm gonna go with my gut on this one and say that you made this one up, that this is fake.
I wish I could take credit, but this one's real. Can you
Oh
guess? Can you
man.
guess the famous King James onlyist? King James onlyist who might be the type to say something like this. Well-known personality.
I mean, honestly, I don't really know the major like King
Oh,
James
okay.
onlyists. It's not something that I usually like focus on, like
Gotcha.
whether they use the King James or not.
Well, it's Steven Anderson. You know who Steven Anderson is?
I have heard of Steven
Okay.
Anderson. Yep,
Yeah. So
I
he's
did
known for he's more known
realize.
for just being a crazy person, but he's also a King James onlyist. And
Right,
yeah,
sure.
there's a video clip we can insert here of him saying this quote.
It's because the editors of the NIV pee sitting down. It's because the editors of the New King James, they all pee sitting down. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to pee sitting down.
So, Catholics actually don't believe that God's love is unconditional because you have to earn his love and your place in heaven by performing works called sacraments, which is completely refuted by what God teaches in Scripture.
I know, even if you made this up, there's definitely people who said this, and I love it. What's you perform works that are called sacraments, as if like all good works are sacraments. I feel like that's oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll say real.
So this one is actually fake.
Ah, okay.
But I'm sure that it is something that Mike Gendron would
Yeah.
affirm. Like, he definitely would agree with that statement.
Okay. Trent officially declared the gospel anathema. Why on earth would we accept a blasphemous council's decisions?
I'm really, really disappointed that either you or this commenter, whoever it was, did not attempt to include a citation from Trent as like a supposed anathematization of the gospel, because I would really like to hear that.
Exactly.
Hmm. I don't really know what to think on this one. I have sort of like a gut feeling, but so far my gut has been wrong both times. But in the absence of any other like judgment here, because I can't think of any good way to parse this, I'm gonna. Could you read it for me one more time?
Sure. Oh, I lost it. All right. Trent officially declared the gospel anathema. Why on earth would we accept a blasphemous council's decisions?
I'm gonna go with real.
You got it. Yep, it's a real one.
Okay.
Another Facebook comment. Yep.
Yeah. My thinking was I don't think that, except a blasphemous council's decisions, I don't think that's how you would have phrased it if you were to make the comment up. And
Fair,
so
yeah.
my gut said that you had made it, and I heard it again. I did the analysis. I ignored
There
my
you go.
gut, and I got it right this time.
There you
So
go. Nice.
my gut is now 3-0 for anybody keeping track at home. My gut has failed me today. All right. So this one, Roman Catholicism. It is Satan's greatest counterfeit.
Hmm. Yeah, I could see. Again, I haven't looked too much into Mike Gendron, but it seems like his shtick is that Catholicism is like worse than Mormonism or any other. Like it's the worst denomination. I could see this being the logic
Yeah.
of it being like
I mean,
Yeah.
to him, it's not even a denomination.
fair. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say real. I feel like it might be real.
Real. This one is indeed real.
Why are evangelicals tiptoeing around Roman Catholicism? It is Satan's greatest counterfeit.
Okay, there we go.
I think a good tell on this is the fact that, like, that's probably not how I would have phrased it if I were trying to make
Right.
up the quote. I probably would have just said Roman Catholicism is Satan's greatest counterfeit, or just Catholicism is Satan's
Right.
greatest counterfeit.
Exactly. All right. All right. You ready for this one?
Okay, I'm ready.
Masturbation is not mentioned anywhere in the Bible, so you really need to take it to prayer to determine if it's right for you. Catholics should not be labeling it a sin when the Bible does not.
Okay. So immediately I think this one is real. Like I have heard this argument from several Protestants, and it's just so incredibly wild, but it is simply the fruit of what happens when sola scriptura runs amok and you become completely unmoored from any sort of like hermeneutic or theological principle,
Hmm.
and you end up with theological anarchy. So I'm gonna say this is 100% real.
So I actually did make this one up, but you might be right on that.
Well,
I like
okay.
thought of this randomly while I was driving earlier today. The part that I feel like they probably wouldn't say, because I've heard them say like it's not in the Bible, so like we don't know kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
This idea of like take it to prayer. I don't know if I've really heard that. So that
Oh,
was kind of
I've heard people
my
say
take on
that.
it. Really?
Yeah.
That's in-
Yeah,
that's
because
insane.
it's like they seem to think like, well, it can be sinful, like, you can do it too much, or like, you got to take it to prayer and decide,
That's
like
wild.
the quote that they use is Paul saying all things are lawful, but not all things are helpful, and then they apply that to masturbation. It's insane.
Wow. So I guess you should get a half point for that, I would say.
Now I should have stopped to actually like think about it, because like when I actually like parse the verbiage of the
Mhm.
comment, I think I'm pretty good at detecting how you like to phrase things versus
Yeah.
how other people tend to phrase things. So like that's the real key. Like just throw out the substance of what's being said, because all of it's nonsense anyway. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So this is my last one. A little bit of a personal anecdote from Mike Gendron here, allegedly. When we arrived at Padre Pio's church, my dad's brother arranged to celebrate Mass with Padre Pio, and I was able to serve as an altar boy. Needless to say, this really strengthened my Catholic faith.
Tricky. Now I know he's old enough that he would have been a young boy around the time of Padre Pio and around the time of the Second Vatican Council. So this checks out as far as that goes. I feel like you have to be tricking me because he probably said it strengthened my Catholic faith, and then the rest of the story goes on to why he eventually found the truth. I'll just say real. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
it is totally real. And like he goes on to explain, of course, oh yeah, like Padre Pio, he was either a fraud or, he was deceived by evil spirits. And also I think it's very possible that he is actually just like lying about this story, because he claims that his uncle, who is a priest, was concelebrating with Padre Pio, but there is no concelebration in the old rite except for
Mm,
during ordinations, and so there's no
hmm.
way he concelebrated with Padre Pio.
Unless it was a solemn high mass, right? Which wouldn't technically be concelebration, but he could easily
Right.
mistake it for that.
It could have been a
Yeah.
subdeacon. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But
don't know.
like that,
That's
there have been other problems with the story and
right. Yeah.
inconsistencies, and quite frankly, he doesn't have the highest reputation for being honest. So
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I take it with a grain of salt.
All right. I've got one more.
Okay.
Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomenon, how to work supernatural powers against their enemies. Pokemon World is the world of the demonic, of the satanic.
So I feel like this is a trick, because it it is definitely something that a Protestant could say, but 100% this is also the type of thing that, like, a set of Incontist would say.
Hmm.
even some like traditionalist Catholics still in communion with the church. I had childhood friends who were not allowed to play Pokemon for this exact reason.
Mhm.
This is tough. Could you read the quote to me again?
Yeah, yeah. Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomenon, how to work supernatural powers against their enemies. Pokemon world is the world of the demonic, of the satanic.
So, question: am I allowed to ask you a question about your childhood? Did you play Pokemon growing up?
I actually did. Yeah, I played
Okay.
put tons of hours into the game, and I also watched some of the. I guess it's called anime, but it's the whatever
Yeah.
those early
Sure. Sure.
2000
The
Pokemon shows were.
anime, cartoon, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, anime and cartoon. The difference is basically just where was the cartoon made, essentially.
right.
So I would say that this has to be real, just because no one who has ever actually like played Pokemon would describe Pokemon in this way. I could imagine somebody labeling Harry Potter this way, but like
Yeah.
there are no spells in Pokemon.
Good deduction. Yeah, no, this one is a real quote. It's from a pastor. I was trying to figure out who he is. I think we can fact check it later, but Phil Arms,
Okay.
pastor of Life Reach Ministries. But there's a video of this. It looks kind of old, maybe like late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, he just
Yeah.
has this whole video about it's been remixed so many times because it's just so funny.
So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies, how to fantasy role play. Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously.
But I also did
Yeah.
see there's a Set of Acanthus YouTube channel that's like loosely associated with the Diamonds that has a video on Pokemon that I remember seeing. I didn't watch it recently, but the other thing they really don't like is that it talks about evolution, and it's
Oh yeah.
that part's really bad because you can't believe in evolution, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember when the Pokemon craze was happening, Pope John Paul II actually had to come out and say, guys, there's nothing wrong with Pokemon.
yeah,
Relax."
oh, that was so good.
I mean, he also had a similar thing to say about Harry Potter too, where he said that like, listen, like as long as you're not pursuing any actual like witchcraft or something, the story of
Mhm.
Harry Potter is actually like perfectly good because it teaches children about the stark difference between good and evil, love and hatred. It's not a bad story.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Cool.
honestly actually reminds me. Did you ever hear about the time that people were trying to get the Pope to ban coffee?
Coffee? No. How long
Yeah.
ago was this?
So this was like in the 1400s when
Okay.
coffee was. I forget which pope it was, but the coffee was making its way from Arabia, from the Muslim world, and people were saying that like Christians shouldn't drink coffee. It's the beverage of the heathens. It's Satan's drink. And he said that what the Pope said in response was essentially, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but he said, if coffee is indeed Satan's drink, it is so delicious that it would be a shame to allow only the heathens to have exclusive use of it. If it is Satan's drink, we will do him the ultimate insult by Christianizing it.
There you go.
Yep.
Based. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So for all of my viewers, Seth, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Deuterocomical. I post every week except for when I don't. I also have an Instagram account, but I kind of just share memes on there at this point, so you're not missing anything if you're not there. I have a Discord as well. You can find the link on my channel. Yeah, it's a lot of fun though.
Oh, I'm going to be honest. I didn't realize you had a Discord, so I got to join that.
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting group of people, and there's a lot of I don't know. There's actually quite a bit of good, like serious resources and stuff that have been popping up because a lot of the people are like, it seems like a lot of my followers are people who find the Diamond Brothers to be really fascinating. So there's a lot of like
Mhm.
memes about them, but also like a bunch of good articles and stuff refuting them. So that's cool.
Right. Yeah. I did a whole series on my channel on like the Second Vatican Council and why
Yeah.
it's not heretical, and responding to a bunch of those claims. I'll go ahead and link Deuterocomical down in the description down below. And Seth, is there any parting words you want to share with everyone? Any words of wisdom, pious
I don't know.
indignations?
I was gonna say, I guess the fact that it's so hard to tell the difference between real and fake Protestant quotes is, I don't know. I'll just leave it at,
Yep.
think about why.
Yeah. It's the problem of authority.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Be sure to like, comment, do whatever it is that people of the internet do, and share this video with all of your most based Protestant friends. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.